everyone. We're back. We're very hungry because we haven't had breakfast yet. But that's okay. So if you hear my stomach growling, you know why.
It's very loud. It's impressive.
Yeah. Today, we are going to talk about the marriage advice we've been given, and we're going to rate it. And I'm very excited. We have 5 different... Failure. A ring notification. We get ring notifications all the time of like, there's a bear down the street. And it's very weird. We're not used to that, but...
Especially just living in the suburbs, essentially.
I know, it does not feel like we live in the woodlands, but apparently we do. Anyway, we have 5 pieces of advice that we've been given throughout the course of being married, or before we were married, or at some point in our relationship, and we're going to rate it. So it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Get into it.
Okay, so number 1, the piece of advice is never say always or never. And this advice is from my dad, actually. He raised us with this advice, just drilled it into our brains. A lot of times it was used as just general advice, not necessarily marriage specific. You know, like me and my siblings are fighting over something and I'd be like, you never clean up the toys. And they're like, well, you always do this. And my dad would come in and be like, don't say that. That's not true. But in marriage, I think it's like 10 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is a bit of what do they call it? Oxymoron? Never say never.
Oh, yeah. The only thing you should never do is
this
say
was one
never.
exception to this rule, and it's the rule itself. But no, it is definitely good advice. I mean, more simplistically put, it's just like avoiding the overly emotional side of arguments, because saying never or saying always comes from a place of emotion. It doesn't come from a place of like logic or tactfulness. So
Yeah.
it's a more general outlook.
Yeah, my dad always says,
He's not allowed to say that.
what?
You're not allowed to say that.
Oh my gosh, I just did it.
He always says that?
Whoa. I just broke the rule. That's crazy. My dad often says, no one ever always or never does something. Like, I've seen arguments go like, you never do the dishes or whatever. And then that's not true. Like, that person has probably done the dishes at some point in their life. You're trying to convey that they don't do the dishes very often. But then all of a sudden the conversation is focused on the fact that you said never. And they're like, no, I've done the dishes before. I did it this time. And then it just becomes this like conversation about like the details that don't matter anymore. And you're totally derailed. So it's like, I do see what my dad is saying in that regard.
Yeah. What's funny is like on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you were to say something like, oh man, they're always just the nicest person in the world, it's like that also holds a lot of weight, and it's something that can be very like flattering. But I guess at the end of the day, always and never, they carry weight, and it's just about being smart in how you use it.
Yeah. I think like one thing we've had to learn in our marriage is not using very like exaggerated language, because at least for me, it's like I'm going to believe what you say or take it seriously, and I'm sure you do the same for me. So if I'm saying very exaggerated things, you're not going to initially pick up on the fact that I'm exaggerating. So it's like it could be easily misconstrued along the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 out of 10, Dad, if you're listening.
Yeah. Definitely good.
Yeah. So we wanted to start on a good one. The next one we have is make a clear chore list and split 50-50. And I actually don't even remember where we got this advice. It might have been like a sermon or a podcast or even like a family member. I don't know.
honestly want to say it was like a coworker of mine.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I will say we took this advice when we were first married, like literally the week we got married. We sat down and opened like our notes app and wrote out like all the chores and then wrote our names next to which ones we wanted to take. And I think when we were first married that was very helpful because it left no room for confusion. It was like
Sounds dysfunctional.
yeah, it kind of like sounds dysfunctional initially. It's like yeah, it seems almost ruly or like legalistic. I don't know. But it was helpful initially. I think when you're first married, like the biggest issues come up when there's uncommunicated expectations. And those kind of like fade away through time, but
Yeah.
that can maybe help in that area. But anyway, do you want to talk about how it turned into not as helpful as time went on?
Yeah, I mean, and just kind of adding on, it's like, again, I feel like with a lot of these advice, they can be kind of generalized. And with this one, it can be generalized as just communicate with each other. Don't just hope that the other person is going to do what you're wanting them to do. Communicate what you want them to do. And so for that, I think it's very helpful. Especially being newly married, neither of us have ever lived by ourselves. So it's just kind of free game. And I think in our situation where neither of us have really lived on our own, it was a little bit unnecessary because it's like, I don't even have a preference on which chore I like most.
Yeah, true.
It's just like, I'll do anything. I'm new to this. I think if you were living with someone, I could see it having a little bit, or like, hey, I have roommates prior to getting married. I could see it being more useful in that situation because there are going to be preferences at that point. And it's good to just talk things out, see what you want to do, what the other person wants to do. But it's also super just like person to person. Like, not everyone needs to necessarily do that, but I think it sets yourself up for success. Worst case scenario, you do what we did and essentially just ignore it very quickly, and kind of get into your own groove with things. Like, I would say we don't really have any defined chores at this point other than like laundry and the bathroom, but we just kind of fill in what needs to be done. If the other person's really stressed and busy, like, you fill in. And so I feel like that works pretty well. And it's
It is helpful, at least for me, to be like, okay, laundry is always mine. That doesn't mean that Nathan can't come in and help me if I really need it. Like, there have been times where he's helped me with the laundry when I am just drowning. But it's helpful to be like, okay, laundry is mine, so I'm going to do it on these days because that's, like, I own it. And then you own the bathroom, and you do it when you do it. And I don't need to check in or be like, hey, are you going to clean the bathroom? Or you don't need to be like, hey, are you going to do the laundry while I'm gone at work? So in that way, it's helpful. And also, like, when we were first married, we didn't make every single chore like a 50-50 split. It's not that equal, I guess, or perfect. There were a lot of chores that we just said we'll both do it, like dishes and cooking. I don't know. It seems kind of silly to me to be like, you only do the dishes.
Yeah. I think those more like weekly chores. Like, those are chores that make sense to like split.
Yeah.
Because like you're both probably going to be doing them at the same time anyway. But like daily things that need to be done daily, I would not try to split those up. Like, every single day fluctuates so much, and you never know where you're going to be with things. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a good idea to split those up. But it all comes down to communication. Like, the advice generally is just communicate with each other. So if you need to, have them take over your quote-unquote chore, communicate.
Yeah. I think if you hold so tightly to, like, the 50-50 rule, it can become really legalistic and, like...
Roommates.
Yeah, like, roommatey. Yeah, it's like, well, you haven't done this, and this is your chore. It's like, every week is different, and it reminds me of, like, the advice we've heard where it's like, in marriage, it's not 50-50, it's like 100-100. And then also you need to communicate if you're not at 100. Like sometimes I'm at 30 and he's at 70, or sometimes he's at 20 and I'm at 80. And it's like you just kind of like meet each other where the other person is. And then I don't know. Yeah. It sounds really cliche to be like communicate, but
Wouldn't it be 30 170 then?
or I guess so, yeah, with 200. Yeah. That is true. Yeah.
We should do the extreme heavy lifting. It just
Extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like a potato on the couch. You're doing everything.
I will say this has not been as much of a challenge for us because I think we're both generally hardworking, and we're both pretty good at keeping track of what chores need to be done and doing them ourselves without like accountability. But I do know like sometimes it's a little bit more lopsided where one spouse is not as good at doing the chores and then the other one is. That's a separate thing. I would say like getting on the same page about your standard of what is clean, and then, you know, coming to the same place of holding each other accountable. And like you don't want to feel like you're having to babysit your spouse and being like, well, they're not cleaning the bathroom once a week, you know, like.
And we should preface this by saying that this isn't like permission to passive aggressively come to your spouse and be like, we should do a 50-50 split with all the chores.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, you suck and you haven't been doing your stuff.
Yeah, like it needs to come from a place of love and wanting to work together, not like, well, you haven't been doing your thing, so let's do this little rule.
Yeah. But again, I don't think there's anything wrong with just communicating through things, and you know, maybe there is some preferences when it comes to chores. Like I like doing the bathroom, I like doing the floors.
Yeah.
Those are like my main two things. So.
Yeah,
But,
and I love grocery shopping, so sometimes we'll go together, but most of the time I'm doing that when he's at work because I love it. I don't know why, but I do. Yeah. Anyway, we rated that advice 8 out of 10. Kind of like an in between. I think it's helpful, but it comes with a lot of like clarification. So the third piece of advice that we have here is learn to enjoy the days your spouse is away. And this is like kind of fire life or first responder life specific, but you know, sometimes if you're not that, your spouse goes on a trip and you miss them. So I don't know. But I got this advice from Nathan's coworker's wife back when we were first married, and I just was really struggling with the transition. I went from living in a house with 8 people, and I don't think I'd ever been alone in a house for more than 3 hours in my entire life. And then to being married, and Nathan is gone for 48 hours, and then he'll be home for 4, but him being gone that long and me being home alone, I was like really struggling. It was really hard. I felt really lonely. And so I came to her and I was like, what's your advice? Like, I am hating this. Can you help me? Give me anything. And she said, learn to enjoy the days he's away. I will say, initially when I got this advice, my first thought was, she must not like her husband. Because I could not understand. I just couldn't understand enjoying when he was away. Like, it was such a sucky time. I don't know. It sounds really dramatic because I don't feel that way anymore. But, like, initially, I hated it so much. So, I did not accept this advice very well when she gave it to me. But as the years went on, I can say now, I do think it's pretty valid advice. I've learned to enjoy when Nathan is gone. Like, I still miss him. I wish he was there. But I've learned to do some things while he's gone that, like, only I want to do. Like watching The Bachelor. Nathan doesn't really like watching The Bachelor.
I like making fun of it with you.
Yeah, true.
But I think that's the only value in a show like that.
Yeah. It gets, like, really old quickly. But it's, like, my trash treat show when you're gone. Or like finding time to see my friends when he's gone, or finding time to write. I don't know. I've learned to enjoy it, and it has made it easier. But I would say it wasn't my favorite advice when we were first married. Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, obviously, it's a much different perspective from me. Like, I'm not just at home living my normal life, going through my normal things. Like, I'm at work. I'm in work mode. So, you know, I definitely compartmentalize quite a bit, transitioning from work to home. Um, and so I don't feel like this was as much of a struggle. Um, the most difficult, and this is kind of a completely different subject entirely, but the biggest struggle is just that transition from work mind
Mm-hmm.
to home mind, and then home mind back to work mind. Um, and also just finding balance in like how important the job is, and not letting it, I don't know, ruin your life essentially. Striking good balance between um, a job like this, which is very difficult intrinsically, um, and home life. So
Yeah.
I think that's almost a completely separate video.
I think I think that's like a whole other episode because there's so much to talk about there. But, I mean, it's all very valid.
Yeah.
I think we could elaborate on it another time. But all that's to say is I gave this advice a 7 out of 10 because I think it's really dependent on who you're giving it to. And if you're kind of ready to accept it, I was not ready initially, so, but it's still good advice, I would say. Yeah. Okay, number 4 is don't go to bed angry.
Ooh.
So this one is really fun because you've probably heard it before. The church loves to preach this as like end all be all, don't go to bed angry. It's like, yeah, it's everywhere. But we rated this a 5 out of 10. Do you want to kind of get into why?
Yeah. I think it's pretty poor advice. I would possibly give it less than a 5 out of 10, but
Yeah.
it's also it's situational dependent. Not to say that every situation requires you to, get into it. Like, I think that there's a strong value in a snack and a nap. A lot of arguments can come up because you're tired, you're hungry, you have a lot on your mind, and you're just more easily set off. The patience level that you would have in, the morning on Sunday is a lot different than, I don't know, Wednesday mid-afternoon after, you've been working for quite a few days and I come back off of shift and I'm exhausted. It's like your threshold of being able to just get into an argument are just so much different. And sometimes you can get so like snowballed into an argument where you start to forget what it was about. You're just angry at each other.
Yeah.
So I think the whole like, well, if you're arguing and you're angry at each other, don't go to bed. Figure your stuff out. Doesn't matter. I think it's like best case scenario, a waste of time. Worst case scenario, it can make that argument so much worse because, like I said, it snowballs. You start to get tired. You start to say things you don't really mean, and then that becomes the focus of the argument. Whatever you just said that you don't even mean, you're just arguing for the sake of arguing. So I think you have to be tactful about it. You have to go into it with a lot of grace, like, hey, this conversation is super important to me. I want to keep talking about this, but I just don't think that right now is the right time. And sometimes that also just means taking a step back. Like, you don't have to wait for the next day, because you definitely still need to address it. Don't let things get swept under the rug.
Yeah.
But, take a step back, get a snack and a nap, recharge, and then take some time thinking about how you're going to reapproach that discussion. I think that can solve a lot of arguments.
I think this advice I mean, it comes straight from scripture. There's a verse in the Bible that says, do not go to bed angry. But when you kind of read the context around it, and I got more into this in my blog, so forgive me for not like having all the details right now, but I think that advice, though, at least the way I read it, is don't use the fact that you're tired to avoid a conversation entirely. Don't use laziness as an excuse to avoid it, or just your fear of conflict. And then also, like, anytime we're having an argument late at night, we are still not going to bed angry. Like, we still make sure to say I love you before we go to sleep. We still make sure to set the intention for the morning that we're going to talk about it. And so I think that's how I take this advice, is don't go to bed angry, and the fact that, like, you could just, roll over, go to sleep, completely ignore your spouse and not say anything. Like, I think in the middle of an argument, you can still say I love you, still remind them that that's true, even though you're frustrated, before you go to bed. And I don't see that as unhealthy. I think that's actually very wise in some situations, because the times we've done that and we revisited it in the morning, we're well rested, have some water, have some food, I just feel like the conversation is like so loving, and it just is better. I don't know. We come to a conclusion faster. It's more compassionate. And those times that we do try to stay up late, battling it out, it just gets worse a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So.
And this is obviously very anecdotal. Like, this is what works for us. This is what we've found is healthy within our marriage. It's definitely not the case for, like, everyone. And it takes a bit of a self-reflection to see if this is good advice or bad advice. If you think that going to bed angry is just going to lead to further bitterness and this feeling of resentment, and you're just within your own mind, you're getting more and more angry. So the time that the morning comes, you're even more pissed off, then yes, don't go to bed angry. You need to figure that out, because that's just how you need to process it. I think with me and Annabelle, it's more of our emotions intertwined into our argument itself, and our emotions are heavily dependent on our physiological needs, like sleep or food. So that's where it's important for us to just get a reset, and then we can come back into that conversation. So, situational dependent, couple dependent.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, you could say for all of these.
But yeah, it's true. It's true.
There's no universal, advice that works for everyone.
Yeah. I would also say, when we were first married, Nathan is definitely someone who is more inclined to take a break in the conversation. And I have to admit, most of the time it's very wise.
Are you speaking on my behalf?
Well, I'm just saying.
Jeez, I call a foul.
I'm just saying, most of the time I'm the one who wants to be like, no, let's figure it out right now.
No you statements, only I.
Okay, I figure it out right now, or whatever.
I'm totally kidding, obviously. We're in a little marriage group thing, and they were saying that you can never speak on behalf of them.
And never say you.
Only I statements.
Yeah, but
which is smart given the situation.
It is. It is good advice, but I don't think you would disagree that you typically want to take a break, and I typically want to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think you've gotten very good about communicating now, but when we were first married, it was like, I need a break, and you would, leave the room or, whatever. In those moments, I would feel very abandoned, and I would feel like, oh, he doesn't care about this, which is not the case. But if you don't communicate tactfully that you want to take a step back, then that can be what you're conveying, is that you don't really want to deal with the conversation, or you don't really care about it as much as the other person. So you've gotten very good about at least now I feel comfortable taking a break, because you often say
oh my gosh,
I know I did it
again. Failed again.
You often say hey, I really care about this, or like, I really want to keep talking about this and we're not going to leave this conversation forever. Let's revisit it in just a little bit or tomorrow morning or whatever. And that makes me feel a lot better to know that like you do care about it. So that could be a good thing to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Make sure you say that.
And there has to be that trust in place, like that the other person will actually legitimately want to revisit it.
Yeah.
Because obviously it would be a bit of a problem. It's like, oh, we'll just revisit this later, and then you just like secretly hope that the other person forgot and you don't have to talk
Right.
about it. That would be a problem. That.
Yeah.
There's two main things to avoid in marriage: complacency and resentment. And I can see that building both if you're not careful.
Yeah. Yep. So, as any piece of advice, there's a ton of nuances to it. But that's why we gave it a 5 out of 10, because I just feel like, and like Nathan said, we could probably rate it lower, but I just feel like the church, they're like universally applying it. Don't go to bed angry. And there's no like other option. And I think when we were first married, that's kind of how I felt. I was like, no, we can't go to bed angry. We can't do it. And then we weren't really figuring out a good solution for us that was like more or less dysfunctional, you know? So yeah, that's our hot take for today.
I mean, I would say hardly, because really all advice can be summarized as like, do what you need to do and what works well. So
Yeah, it's true. All right, well, we have one last piece of advice, and this isn't really advice that I received. Actually, it's more of just like a lifestyle I've seen from a lot of people. You're making faces.
no, I'm just got lightheaded as I took a breath in.
Oh, are you okay?
I was gonna say, yeah, it's not really advice. It's more so just like, I feel like something you're passionate against.
I know, I
It's
am
like,
passionate
I want to
about.
talk about this, so.
But it is like, I have had people come to me and be like, no, this. Basically, the advice is that smut is harmless. Not the advice, but I've heard people. Opinion, yeah. I've heard people come to me and say smut is harmless, like Christian. People who are in Christian marriages. And I want to preface by saying the people I've heard this from, like, I don't have any judgment towards at all. Again, they are doing what works in their marriage. You know, like I'm not saying anything negative towards them.
I think more, I don't know, most importantly, we're not God. We're not Jesus. We cannot condemn others. We're not saying that, like, if you do this, you're going to hell, you're committing a sin, blah, 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 blah. But I think at the same time, to a certain extent, we are saying that we think that this is wrong within Christianity. And if that convicts you and that makes your heart race and you start thinking like, no, you're wrong, then I think it would be important for those people to step back and have some time with God. But
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's a good way of putting it, because it's like, I guess it's like, I think this is wrong for my marriage, and I also think I would never recommend it to other people.
Should probably say what it is before they.
Well, I already said, like, smut is.
Oh.
Yeah, smut is harmless, is what I've heard from people. If you don't know, smut is like, usually fantasy fiction, but it's like sexual. So there's like sex scenes in the writing, and it is all the rage in the book world right now.
Your writing doesn't have to be good. It just has to be smutty.
Basically, like all of the bestsellers, if you've heard of like A Court of Thorn and Roses, that's a huge series right now that is really smutty. I discovered smut actually through that book, and I just felt really convicted. I asked myself, would I be okay with Nathan reading this? And the answer was heck to the no. So I just think it's kind of a double standard if you're okay reading it as the wife, but then like you have the expectation on your husband that, you know, you don't want them lusting after other women, you don't want them like watching porn or even reading smut themselves. So I just think if you're holding your husband to that standard, then you should hold yourself to a similar standard and like keep your marriage pure.
I think it's like, it's important to put it on the same playing field as, like, depending on the book, either softcore porn or just porn.
Yeah.
Like women are more lustful after like I don't know.
It's like romance.
Yeah, the
with the build-up.
romance and yeah, just the storytelling. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's what gets women.
Yeah.
And then men are more like visual. So it's like if those are kind of equal, it's like
Yeah.
you can't not view like smut as the female version of like essentially porn.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
a version. Yeah. Yeah, I would say like another big issue I see with it is that you're literally reading a fantasy. Like, it's about a character that isn't real, in a setting that isn't real, in a relationship that isn't real. I think it can set very unrealistic expectations for your own marriage, whether you're married or not. Like, if you're looking forward to marriage or if you're currently married, all of a sudden you're expecting married life to be like that when you are married, or you are comparing your husband with a fictional character. Like, that is wild to me. You can make a fictional character do anything. So it's just like, marriage is not like that. It's more real, it's less perfect, and it's like beautiful in that way. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I just think any form of comparison or any form of fantasizing outside of your relationship is very unhealthy, in my opinion. So, yeah. It's not like advice I've received, like, go read smut. But it is an opinion that I've seen, like, a lot in Christian communities, and it is very, like, kind of surprising to me, to be honest. But, yeah. There goes my stomach again.
That got picked up.
Yeah, so those are the 5 pieces of advice. Oh, to summarize, the last one I rated a 2 out of 10, if you're curious. But yeah, I kind of went more in depth with each of these pieces of advice in my blog if you want to read it. But yeah, thanks for listening today. You have anything to add?
No? It's yeah. I don't know.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
Eat some waffles today, maybe. Or pancakes.
I mean, Saturday's the best day for that.
Yeah,
So far.
you got it. We're going to go to Snooze after this. We're very excited. I'm going to absolutely destroy an Eggs Benedict, probably. And it's going to be amazing. Hope you can have a similar experience today. All right, well, we love you guys. God loves you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.